Hey guys, it's me, Sonia. So we're gonna do another story time because I'm trying to make Thursdays a story time day. So by the time I upload this, will be Thursday. So here we go. So this story time will be about the time I lost my male best friend, and I feel like this would be a perfect time to tell the story. Why not? Um, so here I go. Um, let's see. Let's start from the beginning. So in kindergarten, well, let's start at first grade. Yes, I'm going back to first grade. So in first grade, I was six, and I was a little bit more chubby than the other kids in my class. So the older kids in like second and third grade would call me Fatso, and I didn't know what Fatso was, so I never got offended. But they just called me Fatso all the time. And this one kid in particular called me Fatso because the older kids are calling me Fatso, but he didn't know what it meant either. So I didn't like him. I just knew that they were trying, like, after a while, I figured out that they were trying to insult me by calling me fatso, but I just didn't know what it was for the longest until somebody explained it. They're like, they're calling you fatso because you're fat. And I'm like, oh. But yeah, the one kid in particular that was called me fatso because everybody else was calling me fatso. He didn't really know what fatso meant either. He's just doing it to be like them, but whatever. The next year comes, I'm in second grade, and me and the guy, the kid that was calling me Fatso, happened to be sitting next to each other. And I don't know what we were talking about, but somehow we ended up being friends. We ended up being close friends. So he went from calling me Fatso to being my friend. Really weird, but that's how kids' relationships were back then, at least. So, um, we'd of course do homework with each other, and then on the weekends, he would come to my house. Now, I've never went to his house, which I find like really weird, but he always wanted to come to my house because he thought it was cool. Like my mom was the cool mom, I guess, because she gave out candy to kids and she let us do a lot of stuff that I wouldn't let my kids do. But that's just what she did. Um, like most of our weekends would be like he would come over, we'd watch TV, we'd talk about whatever was on TV, like I don't know, cartoons, I guess. Sometimes we'd just go out to movies. Um, we would, go skating, like different things that kids do. I can recall a couple of times where sometimes his mom would be downstairs talking to my mom, and we'd be upstairs in my room just watching TV, and like we were just that close, like no one even thought anything of it. And like honestly, we were kids, so we didn't think anything was up. Like why was a person of the opposite sex in my room? Like we just didn't really think too much about it. It was just like we're friends, like we were just really close. Um, so a couple years passed, and we're still friends. We're still close. Like he's one of my best friends. Like I had well, I had a couple female friends, but he was like my main friend, like the one that I turned to, the one that I talked to every day, like the one that I would call on the phone. Like I had a best friend who I also called every day and talked to and all that stuff, but he's my guy friend. So he's he's a little bit different. Um, so we grow up a little bit, we're still at the same school. So we go from elementary school to middle school, and we're about what, 11, I think 11 or 12. And of course, I that's the point where I started menstruating. Okay, so my hormones are different. Like I was one of the first people at my school to start menstruating, least in my grade. There's one girl that started menstruating when she was about 9. She was ahead of me. I started a little after her, but for the most part, it was just us two who had started menstruating. So we are like, we are on a different level than other people because our hormones are changed. So like now when you look at a guy, like he's no longer just a boy. He's you start to see muscles and you start to notice some stuff. So it became a little weird between me and my friend. It wasn't necessarily sexual attraction. It was just a little. It's different. Um, Anywho, so I start hanging out with a different group of people because my female best friend, she transfers schools, so I have to now scramble to make new friends at my school. And it wasn't like I didn't have friends at the school. It's just like you have that. set group of people that you would hang out with. So I hang out with my guy friend, I hang out with my female friend, and I have a couple other acquaintances. But it's not like they would come. It's not like we were best friends or anything. It's just kind of like if I need to sit with somebody, I'll sit with you. But if I had a choice, I would sit with them. You know, that type of thing. Um, Anywho, so getting back to my guy friend. So because we were close, every time we'd say hello, we give each other hugs, and every time we say goodbye, we give each other hugs, and of course, on birthdays, we'd exchange gifts and things like that sort. Um, on different holidays, we have like these candy grams and these, I don't know what they call the roses, but like on Valentine's Day and things of that sort, you can buy a rose and send it to somebody in your class. You can buy candy and send somebody in your class. So whenever we had those events, like he would send me candy and roses, I would send him candy and roses. Like we're just friends, but he's of the opposite sex, so he didn't think too much of it. So about 11th grade, I told you I started menstruating. So my hormones are different now, and of course he's becoming a man. So his hormones are different. Like he's starting to get a little bass in his voice, getting a little hair above his lip. So things are like changing. Um, and like we're still acting like we've been acting as kids. Like we're still hugging and doing little cutesy stuff with each other. We're still hanging out, at each other's plate. Well, like I said, I'd never been to his house. Well, I've been to his house to like pick him up to go with me somewhere to pick him up to go to a party or something like that. But I never like visited his house. He was always over my house like every weekend, every weekend. Um, so yeah. So we're still hanging out, like doing that. We're still, going to libraries, studying or not studying, just like wasting time. Like I told you, we were innocent, uh, so we're just wasting time. We'd still go to the movies, stuff like that. And now that I think about it, if somebody were looking for from the outside, they might think that we were dating, but we weren't because we didn't know anything about dating. But at one point in time, um, my sister, who is in a grade older than me, a grade above mine, her friends, they were a clique, and not the best clique. They were like a mean clique, but they thought they were like better than everybody, but they really weren't. Anyway, they were talking about him one day, and they were saying that he was gay because he always hung around me and a bunch of other girls, like right. And so, I told him like, hey, you should probably start hanging around some boys. And he's like, why? Like, you're my best friend. Why wouldn't I hang out with you? And I told you at that time, my best friend left. So we had to start hanging around other females because, like, we just needed more people to talk to. So he and I were hanging around a bunch of females, but he was the only guy. So the older kids were starting to say like, "Oh, he's gay. He only hangs out with girls and all this stuff." I'm like, "He's not. He's not gay." Um, Anyhow, so I'm telling him like, "Hey, you should probably hang around some of the guys in the class." And he's like, "Why? I want to hang out with you." And I'm like, "Well, it just looks better." So he starts hanging around with guys. And I started to get lonely 'cause I'm like, my best friend is no longer hanging out with me. But, he would still be coming over my house and stuff like that. But, like, during the school day, he'd just be hanging out with other guys. And I used to ask him, like, during lunch, like, hey, where were you this lunch period, whatever. He's like, oh, well, you told me to hang around some guys. So, I'm over there with them. I'm like, them, why? They were like, he would literally hang out with the douchebags, like the pretty boys who all the girls liked. He would hang out with the douchebags, like, why? Anywho, but we were still close. Um, so let's say about seventh or eighth grade, the guys finally start tapping into their hormones. Like the girl, like pretty much the girls. I don't know what was wrong with them, but they still didn't start menstruating. So they were still like, "Ugh, boys are yucky," and I'm sitting there like I'm fully hormonal, like. You say yucky, but I seen him in a speedo. I mean, like we had swim class, so some of the guys were on the swim team from the YMCA. So instead of wearing normal swim trunks, they would wear these Speedos that look like underwear. And you can see pretty much their whole package in their underwear. And because I'm hormonal, because I'm menstruating, I'm feeling some type of way about their package. Plus, because when you're on the swim team, you have to work out and lift weights. They started getting like abs and pecs, pecs popping and the biceps and triceps. Like, so because me and only, one or two other people started menstruating, our hormones were in a different level than these other girls who are still saying boys are yucky. So I'm sitting there like, okay, you say they're yucky if you want to. Um, Anywho, so that was before I got saved. Just so you know, I changed once I got to high school. But anywho, so yeah, so about seventh or eighth grade, things started to change a little bit. I told you my guy friend, he started hanging out with guys, and I had to make some more female friends because my best friend left, so I was just faking it with some girls. Like, oh yeah, we're talking about the same thing, giggle giggle. Like, I didn't like them. I didn't like them at all. But it's the survival of the fittest in middle school and elementary school. Like, you just gotta be fake. So I was. Anyway, so it comes to a point in time where some of his guy friends are like watching us hug. Like, we didn't just like how do I explain it? We didn't just like do a little pity pat hug and then walk away. It's kind of like a hug, and I'm just gonna lean on you until I feel like getting off or something like that. Or we'd be like, he would be like sitting in the chair. I might sit on his lap and give him a hug. That was our friendship. I know, like, to the outside, it would seem like something's going on. And now that I think back on it, it really did seem like something was going on, but we were just friends doing that. And one time this guy that I liked, he saw me all hugged up on my friend. And he started making jokes like, "Oh, you guys look like you're two together. Or you look like you're doing whatever, whatever." And I felt some type of way because I was attracted to the dude. Like, I've seen you in your speedo. Like, I'm attracted to you. And my friend, what did he do? I can't remember what he did. I don't know. I just started trying to separate myself from him because I didn't want the guy that I was attracted to think that I was with my friend because he's my friend. Yeah, sure, I was hugged up. Sure, I was underneath his coat and zipped in there with him. Sure, I was on his lap, but it's not like that. Anyway, so I started to just try to distance myself from him. Like, I already distanced myself a little bit from him when we were a couple of years younger because I wanted him to hang out with boys so the older kids wouldn't think he was gay. That was one thing that I did that I probably shouldn't have done. Now, the my crush thinks that I'm with him when I wasn't. We were just really like super duper close friends. Um, I really I should have kept that, but I didn't. Anyway, I tried to distance myself from him because I was just like, oh, I don't want my crushes to think that I'm with you. Meanwhile, my crushes weren't thinking about me. They weren't. They weren't thinking about me. But whatever. So we graduate middle school, move on to high school. In my city, in my state, um, you have to apply to your high schools like you apply to college. So you can't just go to any high school you want. You have to apply, and then they test you, and then you be accepted or not accepted. So I went to a high school that was maybe 20, 25 minutes outside of the city. Well, let's say 20 minutes outside the city. It's not too far. And my guy friend, he goes to a school inside the city. And so, of course, we're not at the same city. Sit down. Sit down. We're not at the same high school, so we're not going to be as close as we usually are. But we still manage to see each other every now and then. My freshman year of high school was interesting. It was interesting. I have real like a problem. I love meeting strangers. Um, I love making that first impression. I really do. I do. So I made a lot of friends my freshman year, who didn't make it to the 10th grade, but I made a lot of friends there. And so I really didn't call him like I should. He was still calling me because he was a great friend. I was not a great friend, not a great friend at all. Like I would deliberately not answer his calls. He'd be like, "So when are we gonna hang out?" And I'd be like, "Oh, I'm doing this, I'm doing that," and I wouldn't be doing nothing. He'd be like, "Oh, so my school's having a party. You want to come?" I'd be like, "Oh, no, I'm sorry. I have to do whatever, whatever." I was being a bad friend because I feel like I had new friends, better friends. Like I didn't need him. Plus, I didn't want any of my crushes to think that I was with him because we were so close. And if people in middle school who knew me knew that I wasn't with him but thought that we were together, like people who don't know me in high school might think that I'm with him because we're all hugged up and stuff like that. Now, once again, like our friendship was strictly it was literally just a friendship. There was nothing to it. Just we're friends. Now, like I said before, I should have done some stuff in those years when I was younger. Like he was a super great friend, super smart, and I kind of just I was just in my own world. Like I was selfish. He was a really great friend to me. Whatever. So the next year comes, 10th grade, and I'm saved now, right? I'm saved. So I go from, enjoying high school parties, being everywhere, to now being in 10th grade, like, ooh, I'm too good for parties because I'm saved and Jesus wouldn't do this. Yes, I gotta tell you my story time of when I got saved. But okay, for now, I'm gonna try to finish this because. So in 10th grade, I invite my guy friend to a party at my high school. Now, my high school is a little bit different from normal high schools. I don't want to necessarily tell you exactly about my high school because you'll easily be able to figure out which high school I go to. Like, no matter where you are in the world, if you know anything about, you know, my area, you will definitely be able to find me. So I'm not gonna into too much detail, but my high school is pretty awesome. It's in the unique place, um, and so our parties were a little bit different than other people's parties. So I invited him to a party. I'm like, hey, you haven't been to a party in a while. I think I invited him to the first party I invited him to was my ninth grade party, like when I first got there. And then I didn't invite him into any more parties in that year. So in the 10th grade party, I invited him there. So I was there with him for like 5 minutes. And then he up and sees somebody from his school. And he's like, I'm going to go over there for a second. And he doesn't come back the whole night. I'm like, dude, luckily I had my new friends there. But if I didn't, I mean, like, dude. Anywho, so me and my new friend is there. We're partying. We're like doing whatever, whatever. But like I said, I just got saved, so I wasn't doing too much. Can you put that down? So I wasn't doing too much because I just got saved, and I thought I was better than everybody. Um, but yeah, the whole night I didn't see him. He was with some girl from his school, and I'm like, oh, so I'm not nothing now. And I was already being petty, but what? What are you saying, kiddo agua? Hold on, guys. I have to get my child some water. Mm, thank you. So he's with some girl all night from his school, not paying me no mind, just like. And sure, I was with my friends from my school, but so what? Like I invited him there. So at the end of the night, he's like, "Oh man, that party is so fun, all this," and I'm like, "Yeah, okay, whatever." And he's like, "Oh, you mad?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm mad." He's like, "Give me a hug." Like, no, I don't want your hug because I was being petty. Um, but yeah, I'm like, no, I don't want your hug. And he's like, oh, you don't have to be like that. I'm like, okay, fine, whatever. So, at that time, we weren't driving. So my mom picked us up and like he's on one side of the car, I'm on the other side of the car. Like I'm turning my head as far away from him as possible. Like I don't even want to look at him because he left me the whole night. The whole night. He said he was going to say hi or something like that. And he was gone the whole night. So I was mad. And the next few weeks, he was calling me, like asking me what was wrong, and all this stuff. And once again, I was being petty. Like he was a really good friend, and I wasn't good to him. I wasn't good to him at all. But he was a really good friend, and whatever. So 11th grade passes. I mean, 10th grade passes. 11th grade comes. I'm dating people, going places, whatever, whatever. 12th grade comes, whatever, whatever. We might see each other on Facebook, and that's it. And so that's how I lost my best guy friend. Was it eventful? No, it was not eventful. So because it's only been 20 minutes, I think I want to do a two-parter. I think I want to tell you guys about how I lost the love of my life. Yeah, I think I want to tell you guys this. And you may say, Sonia, aren't you married? Sonia, aren't you still living? How you gonna say you lost the love of your life? Well, okay, I'm gonna say this is the story of how I lost my first. No, I don't want to say that either. I don't want to say my first love. That sounds crazy, right? Technically, he wasn't. Okay, I'll say this. How I lost my first love. We'll say that. He was technically the first guy that I was in love with who was also in love with me. Now, I was in love. I loved people in the past, but he's the first guy I was in love who was in love with me. So I'm gonna say that. Okay, 21 minutes in, part two, second, second story time. Okay, so where do we start? The year was the year was 2000. Was it 2011? Yeah, it was 2011. Oh man. Okay, so it was 2011. I had just graduated massage school. I was working as a massage therapist, making my coins. I had enrolled into a community college, and I remember something wrong with. I don't know if something was wrong with my car or if I wasn't driving. I got my driver's license at 20, so it was probably that I didn't have my car yet. It was probably that. Either way, I was waiting on my ride at school. Um, so I had gotten out of class and I was just standing in the hallway, and I see this guy in the reflection behind me. So there's like two glass doors, and I'm standing between the two glass doors. There's one glass door on the other side is the outside. There's another glass door on the other side is the school, inside the school. So I'm between the two glass doors so I can see out to see where my ride's coming. And yet I'm covered from the elements, you know? So I'm in between these glass doors. First I'm by myself. And then all of a sudden some people started straggling in, and they're also waiting on their ride. So they're just like standing around. I look in the glass door and I can see a reflection of somebody standing directly behind me who was not there when I got there. And I'm looking like, oh, that's weird. Like, where did they come from? But I don't, I don't really pay him any mind. And then there's this guy that is standing next to me. He's also waiting on his ride. He's an Arab guy, and he starts some small talk, some small talk. I don't even know what it's about. Something about Thanksgiving, and and then the guy behind me, he's wearing like a full chef outfit because he's in the culinary program apparently. He starts talking about different recipes you can make for Thanksgiving. So he just interested me in the guy's conversation. And he's like, oh, you can do this, you can do that, and oh, don't forget this, and blah, blah, blah. And it's easier if you do this. And I'm like, dude, you just interrupted my conversation. Well, I don't say that, but I'm thinking that. But he's like giving all this information. And at the time, I was a vegan. Now, this is a little tidbit about me. When I'm passionate about something, I'm all in. So just keep that in mind. So I was a vegan, meaning I didn't eat meat of any sort, not fish, not chicken, not beef, not pork. Like I didn't eat any meat. I didn't eat eggs. I didn't drink any milk because it's dairy. Um, I didn't eat a whole lot. unless it was vegetables or fruits or wheat or something. I didn't eat it. So keep that in mind. I was a vegan. I didn't eat ice cream. I had sorbet. No, none had, yeah. Anyway, so I was a vegan and we're talking about Thanksgiving recipes, okay? So, this guy was saying, "Oh, it's easy to stuff a turkey like this, and blah 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 blah." So I'm super sensitive right now because I just watched a bunch of PETA videos, and if you don't know what PETA is, it's a group that rescues animals that are being abused, and they're really super sensitive about how you treat animals, and they try to get people arrested for abusing animals and stuff like that. So I just watched a bunch of PETA videos telling me how animals are being abused, and I was like, what? You shouldn't rape a turkey. You shouldn't stuff a turkey because that's like rape and murder. And like these two guys are looking at me like, is this a girl crazy? And they're like, "What? You must explain your thought." I'm like, "Yeah, you're raping and stuffing a turkey. How dare you?" Because I was super sensitive then. And they're like, "What?" And I'm like, "Yeah, just imagine if you found a woman laying outside naked with her head cut off and her legs chopped off and had seasoning on her and something was stuffed in her vagina, you would say that's rape and murder, wouldn't you?" And they're like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "That's what you're doing to that turkey." So these guys are arguing with me for a good 10 to 15 minutes, like, are you dumb? Like, now that I think back on it, I was a little dramatic, but whatever. So the Arab guy, he kind of lets it go, but the guy that was standing behind me would not let it go. And he's just like, "What are you talking about? You sound crazy, blah 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 blah." And I'm like, "Fine, whatever." I finally let it go. But I make it known that I'm vegan and I don't appreciate how they would just mutilate a turkey that was minding its own business or something stupid like that. Like, I was into my vegan life for sure. Um, so the guy was like, "Okay, whatever, whatever. You're stressing me out." And I was like, "Oh, you're stressed? You know what? I'm a massage therapist," because that's how I sold my stuff. That literally any and everyone. You mentioned stress, I'm pulling out my card. So I pull out my card. I'm like, "I'm a well, first, before I pull out my card, I say, "I'm a massage therapist." And he's like, "Yeah, right," because he never met a massage therapist. He's like, "Yeah, right. You're not a massage therapist. You don't look old enough to do whatever, whatever." And I'm like, "Yeah, I just graduated massage school. Here's my card. I'm a massage therapist." He's like, "Whoa, you are a massage therapist. How much do you charge? Blah, 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 blah. Where do you massage at?" So I'm telling him like where I work and stuff like that. And he's like, "I can't believe you do this, blah, 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 blah." And I said, "You know what? If you went to my school right now, you told them how you stuffed a turkey, they would be so upset and all this stuff." Because the massage school I went to, they practice a lot of them were vegans. They practice like I don't want to say the school practices Buddhism, but they do a lot of meditation. They do a lot of everyone's sacred type of thing. Um, that's just the school that I went to. Now, mind you, I said a massage school, not a trade school that has massage. This is the massage school, so like, all they do is massage from the front desk to everyone in the place. They're all massage therapists. Like, it's not a trade school. It's a massage school. Anyway, so I'm telling him how people at my school would not appreciate him, mutilating a poor turkey and all this stuff, and how I couldn't eat all this stuff at lunchtime because they would look at me like I murdered that animal or something like that. Like, I just went on and on. Um, anyway, after about a half hour of ranting nonsense, my ride comes and I leave. I think that's the end. Like, I didn't expect. Well, I don't know. I can't remember. I can't remember exact details, but I didn't really expect the guy to call me or anything. I just gave him my card, and that was that. I didn't expect to see him or anything like that. So I leave. Few days go by. Nothing happens, no call, no nothing, and I go about my day. I'm in school and I'm working full time and I'm in school full time. Like, I don't have time to deal with nobody unless their name is a book. you know um but maybe I want to say a week later, maybe a week later, a week or two later. I can't remember the details. I know it wasn't that long of a time, but a week or two later, I'm walking, minding my own business. I'm speed walking, like because it's cold. It's cold outside, and I gotta walk across campus. And somebody taps me on my shoulder. I'm like, who is this? And like nobody's there. So I keep walking. Somebody taps me on the other shoulder. I'm like, who is this? And nobody's there. If you don't know, this is a trick that some people just play on naive people. Now, most people, they tap you on the shoulder. You look over there because they're over there. Like, but I didn't know that because I was antisocial. I don't know. I just didn't know. So they tap me over here. I look over here. No one's over there. They tap me over here. I look over there. No one's there. So I'm feeling foolish, like who's tapping me? And the guy that was behind me that day that I was in the hall talking about my turkey nonsense, he's like, "Oh hey." I'm like, "Were you tapping me?" He was like, "What do you mean?" I'm like, "You were tapping me." Anywho, so that was fun. Anywho, but yeah, I was like, "Oh, you didn't call me," and he's like, "Oh, I lost your card." I was like, "No, you didn't. You just didn't want to call me. That's okay. You don't have to say anything. Like I'm being flirtatious and like whatever. I don't know. I was just enjoying messing with him. I'm like, no, you didn't want to call me, blah 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 blah. Like I couldn't even remember his name. Like I wasn't really interested in him. I was just being whatever. He's like, no, I really do want to call you, blah, blah, blah. Like, just give me your card one more time. And it's like, okay, fine. So I gave him my card, and I didn't think about him. Then the next day or the day after, I get a text message saying, hey. And because I don't give out my number like that, except to clients, I'm like, hey. It wasn't a business phone at the time. It was my personal number. I couldn't afford a business phone and a personal phone at the time. 'Cause I was working one job full time and I was in school full time. I didn't have money just to be willy nilly. Um, so yeah, I just get a text message saying, "Hey," I'm like, "Hey," and like, "Do you remember me?" I'm like, "Who is this?" And like, and he told me his name, and I was like, "Who?" He's like, "You remember that guy you met in the hallway?" At the time, literally, I like because I waited for my ride so often. I met a lot of guys in the hallway, and I would talk to them, make small talk just to waste time. So I'm like, no, I don't remember. Who are you? And then he was like, remember the turkey conversation? I was like, oh, you were supposed to call me yesterday. And he's like, well, I've been busy, blah, 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 blah. I told him his work schedule and all this stuff. And I'm like, okay, fine, whatever, excuses. And he's like, so, what did he say? What did he say? He asked me something about being single. I can't even remember the exact words, but he was really subtle with the words, are you single or something like that. And I was like, why? And he's like, no reason. And I was like, okay, well, if no reason. I don't need to tell you. And that was the end of the conversation. Um, the next time I was at school, I was walking, minding my own business, trying to go to my class, and he pops up again. He does the same thing, tapping me on the shoulder. And because I didn't learn the first time, he tapped me on this side. I looked on this side. He wasn't there. He tapped me on this side. I looked on this side. He wasn't there because I didn't learn the first time. And so yeah, I'm like, hey, and he's like, so you just not respond to my text message? And I was like, you didn't see the response? We were having a conversation. He's like, yeah, but you didn't tell me if you were single or not. I was like, well, you didn't tell me why you needed to know. But while we are having that brief introduction, all of a sudden, some chick runs into him and hugs him. While I'm just mid conversation, she runs into him and hugs him. I'm thinking it's a private moment, like, oh, that's him and his girlfriend. I'm gonna look away while they do whatever they're doing. And he basically says hi and all this stuff, and he's like, oh, well, I'm talking to her right now. I'll talk to you later, or something like that. And she's like, okay. She's all smiley and whatever, whatever. And we just walk on. I'm like, okay, he has a girlfriend, but like, so what? I wasn't trying to talk to him anyway. I'm trying to get to my class, you know. But he literally walks me to my class. We're just talking. He's walking me to my class, just trying to get to know me, and I'm like, what is this? Um, So a couple days go by. Once again, my schedule was I work one day, I go to school one day, I work one day, I go to school one day. But I would literally go to school from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. because I was busy and I was trying to get my education. And so, I think it was a couple days before I saw him again. And he did the same thing. He would find me walking from one class to the next class, and he would stop me and, talk to me. Well, he wouldn't stop me because I would keep walking, but we'd just be talking. So we did that a couple times. And then he's like, well, I'll text you later. One time, he's like, I'll text you later. I'm like, okay, whatever. I don't care. Because I mean, like, we weren't saying anything of like great detail. It wasn't anything that like kind of sparked my mind as, oh, this is the person I want to be with. What? More water? Sorry, I'm pouring my daughter some water. She's supposed to be sleeping. This is sleeping time, but she won't go to sleep. So I gave her some grapes, and now she's asking for more water. So that's that. She's up with me. Here you go. Thank you. Um, so she's like, I'll text you later. I'm like, okay, fine, whatever. I don't care. And yeah, so what happens? Okay, yeah. So the first time, well, not the first time, but when he says he text me later, he literally does text me later. Unlike the first time I gave him my number when he took a day, it was either a day and a half or 2 days to text me. Whatever. He texted me immediately, almost immediately. Um, so I'm like, hey, what's up? He's like, so can I come visit you? And I'm like, no, I don't know you. And he's like, oh, you can get to know me or something like that. And I'm like, no, I'm good. Because once again, I was focusing on my studies at school. And when I wasn't at school, I was focused on working. Um, so I declined him coming to visit. Like, I don't know you, dude. But then my mother has a birthday party. She has a surprise party. And her birthday is like mid-January. Um, so we had to have been talking in December. So yeah, I say, oh well, my mom is having a birthday party. If you want to come by, you can swing by, but you can't come to my house because I don't know you like that. And he's like, okay, cool. I'll come after work. I'm like, what time is work? I don't get a response. My mom's party is, let's say, around 8. She's having like a I don't want to say old school party. It wasn't an old school party, but it was like people who like to dance. So if you like to ballroom dance, like urban ballroom, not the ballroom you're thinking. If you're Caucasian, urban ballroom dancing is different from your ballroom dancing. We're not waltzing. It's a different type of ballroom. So they're like ballroom dancing. They were doing the hustle. They're doing hustles. Not line dance, hustles. They're different. You got to look them up. Look up urban or black hustles. They're different. Um, they were stepping. If you don't know what stepping is, once again, look it up. Urban or black stepping. They were doing salsa dance. They were just doing a bunch of dances that most people don't do. They're doing bachata. Now, once again, like black people, they do bachata just like everybody else. Um, they're just doing a whole bunch of dancing. So, my mom, she's a part of a bunch of dance groups. So, a bunch of black people go around learning different dances, and then they'll throw like big parties for other bunch of black people just to dance. So that's what her birthday party was like. They were just doing all these type of dances. So I invite him to it. Like, why not? Like, get some food, dance a little bit, get to know me that way. So I'm waiting for him. I just come from work, so I'm not looking snazzy at all. Thank you. Oh, can you pick it up for me? Oh, sure. Thank you. So I just come from work. Like I told you, I was focusing on working in school, so I just came from work, but I had to make it to my mom's party. So I come from work. I'm wearing my work uniform. I'm not looking snazzy at all. But I'm waiting on him, and I'm like, okay, I got to do something. So I try to freshen up myself in the bathroom. Anyway, So I'm waiting for him for hours. I'm like, when does this guy get off of work? So the party started at 8. So when I say hours, I mean okay, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock. He shows up like 10:30, something like that, and he's beautiful. This is the first time I'm seeing him outside of his culinary chef outfit, because he's in the culinary program at the school. So he'd always be wearing his culinary outfit. This is the first time I'm seeing him without it, and I'm like, he's beautiful. Now I couldn't really, I like before, I wasn't really looking at him like somebody to date, so I wasn't really looking at his face like that. Like I would look him in his eyes when I'm talking, but it was like I wasn't really looking at him like that. But outside of his attire, he looked good. Like I didn't realize how broad his shoulders were. I didn't realize how flat his stomach was. I didn't realize how strong his thigh muscles looked. Like I just didn't realize it. And did I mention he was tall? Like I knew he was tall. You can't ignore that he was tall, but like in his normal clothes, he just looked like it escalated everything a little bit more. So he's like, I forgot to mention, he's like 6'2", 6'3". So I'm talking 6 feet 2 inches, 6 feet 3 inches. Like he's a tall guy. I'm 5'3" and a half. So I'm always looking up to him like this. But yeah, so he's out of he's late, but he said he was coming when he got off of work. So I was like, okay, fine. I introduced him to my mom, like, hey, ma, this is my friend so and so from school. And she's like, oh, hey, son, you got a new little friend. She calls all my boyfriends and stuff like that little friends. And I'm like, okay, fine, whatever. I'm like, you hungry? And he's like, no, I picked up something to eat and blah blah blah. I'm like, cool, cool. So a bunch of songs come on that I'm not trying to dance to. Like I ballroom dance, but I just didn't want to. And I didn't know if he knew how to ballroom dance, so I didn't want to be out there dancing while he's sitting there like bored out of his mind. So I sat with him, and he's like, "Oh, my back hurts so much, my neck hurts so much." So I'm like, "Oh, you want a massage?" So he looks at me like bet, and so I start massaging his shoulder just a little bit, like not too much. Like, how do I describe the environment? So of course they have all this loud music. You got all these, 50 somethings in the room dancing. They have like strobe lights and stuff like that. So I'm touching him in the dark. That's what it looks like. And so my sister comes by. She's like, Sonya, stop doing that. I'm like, what? His back hurts. She's like, don't do that. If he wants to make an appointment, he can make an appointment. And I'm like, but his back. And it didn't click to me that I was touching him in the dark and that looked weird. Um, I I'm a massage therapist. We literally massage in the dark or dim lighting. Like I didn't think anything of it. Um, but that was bad. So a song comes on, and I'm like, oh, this is my song. I think it was Wobble came on, or something like that. It was a hustle. So the song came in. I'm like, oh, this is my song. He's like, oh, you like this song too? I'm like, yeah, you like this song. So we're bonding over a song. And because he looks good, I'm just like extra flirty and whatever. So he's like, "You want to dance?" I'm like, "Oh, I don't really dance." Before I know it, he's off on the dance floor. So I'm like, "Okay, I guess I'll go too." So he is getting it. He is like putting extra steps and stuff. He's all into it. He's getting it. I'm just doing like the basic version of the hustle, and he's just like into it and all this stuff. It was the wobble, but the DJ mixed it into another hustle. So the other hustle is what he's doing. I think it was um the turbo. Right, left, right, left, kick, twist, twist, up and down and roll, roll. If you know that song, you know the hustle. And then it was like two other ones. So it was the wobble, wobble baby, wobble baby, wobble baby, wobble. And then it was left, right, left, that song. And then it was some other hustle. And he was killing each one. And I'm like, okay, okay. Like I'm doing the basic step because that's what I do. I do the base. I told you, I was raised in the church. I'm not trying to do anything to bring too much attention to myself, especially my hips or my butt. Just not. I'm not trying to do it. So I'm doing the basic. I'm doing two step here, two step there. Just doing a basic. I'm wobbling barely. Barely wobbling. right, left, right, and getting down stuff like that. But he is killing it. He is killing every step, and I'm like, and I every now and then I just stop and I look at him. I'm like, okay, he's doing it. And then I can't remember what dance it was, but he was hip rolling, like killing the hip roll, and I'm thinking like, is he Jamaican? Like, cause he's killing it, and so yeah, that was the dance portion. And I'm like, okay, all right. So he's attractive. He can dance. Okay. Mind you, at the time I was a virgin and I was sweet and I was really, really conservative. Really. And he clearly was not. He was I was thinking thoughts that I had to repent for. I was he messed with my mind. So, at the end of the night, he's like, okay, well, I have to go to sleep because I have to go back to work at this time. I'm like, what? Didn't you just get off of work? He's like, yeah, but I have to go back to work because I told him I was gonna call off to take my sister to whatever. I'm like, you have a sister? He's like, oh yeah, I have this amount of siblings, and I'm like, whoa. And he's like, yeah, well, sometimes I help my mom take him to different programs after school, and I gotta wake him up to take him to school, and I gotta take so and so to the store. And I'm like, okay, so you're a little busy, huh? And he's like, yeah, well, I'm like, okay, fine. So I basically decide that, okay, he's not dateable. He's working all this time, and then he has to practically take care of his siblings. Like, I mean, he's not dateable. Even though, yeah, he looked good and he can dance. So, I mean, there's potential, but no, he's not dateable. So I'll leave it alone. Sorry, my head is itching. So I'll leave it alone. I'm just like, whatever. He's not dateable. So then, what happens? What happens? What happens? I don't know how long it was. But we meet up again at school. And I'm asking him like, "Oh, how are you?" Different stuff like that, and he tells me, we're just doing a basic greeting, and I'm like, "Okay, well, bye," because I decided he wasn't dateable. Okay, bye. He's like, "But wait, 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 where you going?" I'm like, "I gotta go to class," and he's like, "Yeah, but don't you have a certain amount of time?" Like, I always used to get to class early, so he's like, "You still have like so a certain amount of time," and I'm like, "Oh yeah, I guess so." But I don't necessarily want to talk to you. And he's like, why? And I'm like, cause I'm trying to focus on my school or something like that. And he's basically just not having it. And so that was that. Next thing I know, he's texting me, cause of course I go to my class, and he's texting me, and he's like, so we should hang out. I'm like, and do what? Like, he's like, oh well, I can come visit you and all this stuff, and I'm like, I don't really know. Um, at that time, my sister was in college and she was living in a dorm, even though she's still in our same city. And my mom, of course, she was going out to her dance parties, doing all this stuff. So I was usually home by myself, like just doing nothing. Mind you, I was a virgin. So my virgin mind wasn't thinking about stuff that a non-virgin would. So he asked to come over one day. And I'm like, it's a little late. And he's like, yeah, but I just got off of work. Virgin mind is like, he just got off of work. So I asked my mom, I was like, hey, can my friend come over? And she's like, what friend? And I'm like, oh, you remember that guy that I met at at school and that I brought to your birthday party? She's like, I don't really remember him, but yeah, he can come by once I get home. So she got home like not too long after the time that he wanted to come by. I'm like, okay, this is great. So he comes by once again, not in his culinary outfit, and he looks fantastic. And he has the nerve to had put on some cologne. I'm like, dude, didn't you just come from work? Why do you smell wonderful? But he's there, and I'm excited because I'm seeing him in his wonderfulness. But like in the back of my head, I'm thinking like he's not dateable. He works all the time and he takes care of his siblings. Like it's not gonna work. But we started talking. Like, what was on TV? Um, I think all that was on TV. Now, if you are a little older than me, you may not remember all that. All that was a show that came on a channel called Nickelodeon, and it was basically like a Mad TV version for kids. It was a Mad TV for kids, so they did like sketch comedy things for kids, but it was they were like teenagers doing it, but they did it in the 1990s. So if you weren't raised in the 90s, you may not remember it. Like if you were raised in the 80s, you might. What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? So if you're raised in the 80s, you might remember it. Any further than that, like 60s, 70s, you may not. You probably. But yeah, I was. If you were raised in the 90s, you remember it. It's called All That. So All That came on. I was like, I didn't know this show came on. And he was like, yeah, they relaunched it, and it comes on after midnight. I'm like, oh, it's after midnight. And he's like, yeah. And he's like, oh, let's watch the show. And I'm like, okay, cool. So we're watching the show, and I'm like, oh, this is stupid. This is all this, blah, 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 blah. So we're bonding, right? He's making jokes, I'm making jokes, having a good time after midnight. My virgin mind doesn't say anything is wrong with this. And my mom is knocked out. Like, she had a good time at her old people's party, so she's knocked out. She's not even looking at the time because she's asleep. Um, so we're bonding. My mom's asleep. We're in a room by ourselves. I'm a virgin, so I'm not thinking anything of it. And I have this real big problem. Okay, so I didn't realize this was a problem at the time because I was a virgin, but he was staring me down at one point in time. And as you know from the last story time, staring me down is like it's a natural aphrodisiac. It does something to me. So after our bonding, he just stares me down, and I'm a virgin, so I don't know what the stare down is doing to me. And I'm like, I'm feeling a little weird, but I can't, put any thoughts to it because it's never happened to me before. And he's just staring me down, and he's looking delicious, and I don't know what to do with that because I never did anything with it. I'm a Christian, and so yeah, um, that was an interesting night. After some time, my mom finally wakes up. She's like, "Sonya, you know what time it is?" And I was like, "No." And she's like, "It's blah 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 time." And it was pretty late. It's the latest anyone I've ever had a guest ever. Um, I can't really even tell you what time it was. It had to be like 3 a.m. or 4 a.m. Too late for me to be having a male guest at my mama's house. That's how late it was. Um, And so I tell the guy bye, and he's like, "Can I give you a hug?" And I'm like, "Sure," because my virgin mind wouldn't think was, anything was bad about that. So he gives me a hug. Mind you, he's taller than me, so I'm into his chest. I'm into his abs, right? His abs are in my face, and I'm holding him like I'm holding him at the waist because he's tall. Yeah, he's tall. And I'm like, this is peculiar. And I'm holding him how I used to hug my friend from middle school. The guy that I started with this video with. And I never really hugged guys like that before. Like normally I do church hugs, but with my best friend, I trusted him, so I would linger with the hug, like, cause why not? I like to feel his heartbeat. So I'm hugging this guy like I was hugging my best friend, and I'm like, I'm starting to feel stuff. My hormones are like everywhere. He smells delicious. He looks delicious. It's 3 or 4 a.m. Like I'm like, Jesus. I will say I did pray after that. I prayed after he left. I prayed. I was, I was a virgin and a super Christian at the time. Guys, let me tell you. Um, so that was that night. The next, it couldn't have been that long. I would say the next day or the day after. I'm in class. Well, I'm not in class. I'm waiting for my class to start. No, sitting. No, 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 no. Go sit down. Go sit down. Go sit down and play. So the next day or the day after, I'm waiting for my class. 'Cause I always show up to class early. So I'm waiting for my class, and some girls walk past me. And I mean, like people always walk past in the hallway. I'm usually the weird one sitting on the floor. Like love to sit. I used to love sitting on the floor and like finishing up my work, because I would be at work the day previous, so I would miss like a lot of time doing work. So I would finish my work. So these two girls walked past me, and they're like, "Is it her?" Yeah, I think it's her. And they asked me like, "What's your name?" I'm like, "Me?" They're like, "Yeah." And they have like a really stank attitude. So I'm like, "Excuse me, you asked me my name. Like, don't act like I owe you something." But whatever. They're like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "Why?" And they're just like, I'm looking, I'm asking for a friend or something like that. And I tell them my name. They're like, "Oh, it's her." And they keep walking. I'm like, "Oh, okay, all right." Um, and it was just really weird. And then later on that day, Tall, Dark, and Handsome pops up again, and he's like, "So what are you doing? Insert date." And I'm like, "I don't know, probably working or sleeping. Like, I don't know." And he's like, "So can I come by later?" And I'm like, "I don't know. I had to ask my mom." He's like, "Okay, ask her." I'm like, "Right now?" He's like, "Yeah." Like, okay. So I text my mom. And I'm like, "Hey, can someone so come by?" And she's like, "Yeah, but this time he has to leave earlier." I'm like, "Okay." So I'm like, "If you can come by this time and leave by this time, you can come by." And he's like, "All right, cool." So he comes by, and he comes by. This time he does not smell wonderful. And I remember this from a T. He does not smell wonderful. He smells like sweat. Um because he's been working. He's in his work attire. He still has his earbuds and everything from working at a factory. And yeah, I'm like, "Oh, so you're gonna come to my house like that?" He's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I just came from work." And I'm like, "Okay, fine." But another thing that I figured out, I like the smell of man sweat. I know, and it could have just been from him, but I like the smell of man sweat. Even when my husband sweats, like he comes from the gym, I'm like, "Yeah." Anywho, so yeah, he comes, he's smelling like sweat, and he's like, "I'll just sit over here so you don't have to smell me." I'm like, "Okay." So we're sitting on opposite ends of the couch, watching the same show we were watching. Well, not no, we were watching something else, but the previews for the same show that we were watching was coming on. So he was just talking about it and stuff like that. And he's like, "Man, you don't really get out or anything." And I'm like, "No, I don't. I just kind of work and go to school." And he's like, "Well, let me show you this. Let me show you that." So he's pulling out his phone, showing me a bunch of stuff that I've been missing because I don't get out like that. I'm a Christian. And he's showing me a bunch of stuff. And he's like getting closer because he has to show me stuff. And I'm like, if this man don't stop scooting near me, I was having all non-virgin thoughts. I was doing stuff in my head that I probably shouldn't have. And so that happens. Um so yeah, he asked me a question. He said, "So what would you say if I told you what did he say? What would you say if I told you that I was doing something with my girlfriend?" I'd be like, "I would say it's good for you." And he'd say, what would you say if I said that I was watching TV with my girlfriend?" And I'd be like, "You're not watching TV with your girlfriend. You're watching TV with me." And he's like, "So are you my girlfriend?" Or something corny like that. And I'm like, "Yes." Oh Lord, it was really corny, but that's how we got our relationship. So um, like before, I would see him in the hall. We'd talk, we'd hang out. But now I got two girls that would be scouting me. Like every now and then I'll just pass him by while I was with him. And then I realized the girl that hugged him before we got together was that same girl that was with this other girl that kept walking past me. And I'm like, it's peculiar. And I asked him like, "Hey, this girl keeps walking past me." And he's like, "Oh yeah, that's my ex so and so." Like, your ex? But weren't you just hooked up with her like a couple months ago? He's like, yeah, well, we're friends now. And I'm like, what? You're friends? Okay. That was weird for me. And he's like, yeah, we're friends. I'm friends with all my exes. And at the time, I didn't think anything of like I said, I was raised a Christian. You need to watch my other video if you didn't watch it. I was raised a Christian. So you date to marry. It's called courting. Growing up, it was kind of like you date in groups because if you date solo, things can happen. You're not trying to do that. You date to see who you can marry. Period. Like I went to conferences and everything that taught me that, but whatever. So I didn't know too much about dating. I was I was doe-eyed and everything. I was just like, okay, that's not weird at all. Um, so we're together, and like before, he got off of work late. Like so, sometimes he'd be coming over at 10 o'clock. Sometimes he'd be coming over at 11, and it's because he worked. And on his days off, I'd be like, so why aren't you visiting me? He's like, oh, well, I have so much stuff to do. And I'm like, but you don't visit me, and I want you to come over during the daytime because you coming over at night. It looks some type of way. And he's like, okay, fine. So he takes me out during the daytime. And he's like, okay, I gotta run errands. Like I didn't think he was actually running errands. He was actually running errands. Like he was taking his siblings to different places and stuff like that, and he was getting groceries and stuff, and I'm like, okay, you are really delivering errands because of your work schedule and stuff like that. Plus, like sometimes his mom's car would go out, so he had to do a lot of stuff for her. So I'm like, okay, fine. I just realized I just won't have your time, but that's okay because I'm still working, I'm still in school, so I need to focus on that, and you're just like an addition to that. So that went on for a little bit. About 2.5 months later, um uh we're at my house. My mom's not there because at this point, my mom kind of trusts him because she's like, "Oh, he's a decent guy. He's not gonna try anything on my virgin daughter, stuff like that." So she trusts him. So we're at my mom's house, and we're wrestling. Why? I don't know, but this became a hobby that we did. We would wrestle, and of course, he would let me win. Um, but this one time, we were wrestling, and he pinned me. So like I'm on the floor, and he has me pinned, like his arms are right here and like he's on top of me, and he's, yeah, so I'm pinned. And I'm like, okay, fine, you win. And he's staring me down. I told you in my last story time, like you can't stare me down. You're doing something with my hormones. So he was staring me down. I'm like, okay, you can get off me now. I'm a virgin, like I said. I wasn't thinking anything of it at first until he started staring me down, and then my mind started to go places, and he started to kiss me, and I'm like, this is peculiar. And at that time, I hadn't kissed a lot of people, so I was super bashful. So he would start kissing me, and I would just be like giggly and all this stuff. I imagine it was awkward for him, but I was super giggly and awkward, and we started kissing a lot more than I intended, and it became a little intense. And his hand started traveling along my person, and I wasn't ready for it. I told you I was a virgin and I was a Christian. I didn't do that type of touch like willy nilly. So yeah, I told him like, hey, there's something I gotta tell you. Well, oh, no, no, I'll tell you what he told me first. Like, so he asked me, so like, when are we gonna what did he say? He didn't just blatantly say when are we gonna have sex, but he said something around that, you know, when are we gonna do it or something like that. He's like, so it's almost been 3 months. Like, I don't know if you have a 90-day rule or whatever, but blah blah blah. Like he said something along that those lines, and I'm like, oh, so there's something I actually have to tell you. And he's like, what? Like I think he thinks it's a lot worse than it actually was. I said, there's something I think I have to tell you. I think he thinks like I'm about to tell him that I'm sick or something, but I'm not. And I say, I'm actually a virgin. And immediately he gets off of me. Like, immediately. Like, I turned him all the way off. Like, I could feel his man parts. I turned him all the way off. He got off me immediately. Um, and he's like, are you serious? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, you're a virgin. I was like, yeah. He's like, but you're a massage therapist. I was like, you do know that we don't have sex with our clients, right? He's like, yeah, but you're with naked people all the time. It's like, what does that mean? Like, what? And I'm like, yeah, so I'm a virgin and I'm not, I don't know what to do. And he's like, oh, okay, well, I didn't know that and blah, blah, blah. So, um, that's that. We have a couple more encounters just like that. Like we're wrestling. He pins me. Like before he was letting me win. Now he's pinning me to let me know that he's been letting me win. And like every time we start kissing, like we have to stop because I'm a virgin. And I can tell that he's frustrated. So, um maybe 3 weeks before my 20th birthday, we're wrestling because that's been our thing that we do. And and somehow he ends up behind me and I'm like crawling away from him and he's pulling my legs back and then we end up in like a doggy position and it's just really awkward. Like I said, I'm a virgin. I was a virgin at the time, and so we're in doggy position and he's like, I got you, there's nowhere you can go, and I'm still like trying to get out. He's like, no, I got you, there's nowhere you can go. And I'm like, okay, fine. And then he's got my hips, and then he moves down a little bit, and it's like my hormones were going, but I didn't know what to do with it. And yeah, he pulls me down on him. I'm not trying to get too graphic, but I can feel his everything, and I'm just like, uh. And he's like, I could stop if you want, and I'm like, because I was curious, but I didn't want to go all the way. So we stopped. We end up kissing and stuff and whatever. The next time it gets a little bit closer. So the pants are removed, but my undies are still on. And he's like, I got you. And I'm like, oh goodness, Lord, what's gonna happen? I don't know. I don't know what's gonna happen. So I just keep getting closer and closer to like this man tearing me apart. And And yeah, so finally he's like, "Yeah, I don't want to do this because you're a virgin." And I'm like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "Yeah, I don't feel right." And I'm like, "But I want it." And he's like, "I don't think this is the way you want it. It should be special." And I'm like, "This is special." And he's like, "You should do it with someone that you're in love with." And I'm like, "I'm in love with you." And he's like, "I'm in love with you too." And it's like, "Oh, we're in love." Like it seems corny the way that I said it, but it was beautiful. It was absolutely beautiful. So that all happened within like a week's time. Like we just kept getting closer and closer and closer until we had that moment where we both professed our love, and it was great. And for a while it was perfect. But there was something underlying that was bothersome. So he had a best friend, a female best friend, and she had intercourse with my boyfriend at the time. And I was like, how can you just be friends if you had intercourse? And he was like, well, it didn't mean anything. And I'm like, but you were inside of her. You saw her naked. Like, you felt her insides with your outside. Like, but he's like, no, she's like my sister. She does my sister's hair. She hangs out with my mom. We're just friends. Friends don't put their parts in their other friends, but whatever. I was trying not to be jealous. So, like I mentioned before, I was a virgin at the time. I didn't date. So, I didn't know too much about guys. I In the last video I told you I was a super Christian. Like I was trying to be as pure as possible. I was super conservative. Like I didn't know anything. So, I had a friend that I had known since middle school. Not the guy that I talked about earlier in this video. Another friend. He was a weirdo. Like he used to stalk me, and somehow he ended up my friend. Like he. Oh no, let me go back. So this guy in middle school, he used to stalk me. Like me and my friend, I had a friend named Shalanda. So me and Shalanda, we would just like go to random places, and like every now and then we would look up and he would be in the corner looking at us, and it was really creepy. Um, so he stalked us. So then I go to high school and I'm dating this guy, and this guy is best friends with this creepy guy, and he's like, "Oh, I know her from middle school," and I'm like, "How do you know me? You were the creepy guy." And he's like, "Don't call me creep and all this stuff." And I find out later on that he programs websites, and I needed a website, and I said, "I need a cheap website. Where can I get it?" Let's go to the creepy guy. So me and the creepy guy became friends, but he didn't like me calling him creepy guy, but he was creepy. Anywho, so now I'm having man issues because my man has a female best friend who he slept with. So I'm like, who can I talk to about this? Like, I don't have any other guy friends. Let me call the creepy guy. So he's gonna be so mad if he ever sees this video. But so I call him and I'm like, hey, can you give me some advice on guys? And he's like, what do you want to know? I'm like, so what does it mean when a guy has a female best friend? And he's like, he's sleeping with her. I'm like, are you sure? Because he says they're just friends. He's like, has he ever slept with her? And I'm like, yeah. He's like, he's still sleeping with her. I'm like, but he says he's not. So I'm having some issues, and I'm like contacting him. Mind you, the guy that I'm dating and the creepy guy both have names that start with the A. So, so every now and then I call the creepy guy my boyfriend's name. And he's like, that's not my name. My name is Bliss. And I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. Your name is supposed to start with an A. Even though they don't sound alike, they both have an A name, so that's how I remember them. Anyway, um, some guy randomly contacts me on Facebook, and he's just like hitting on me, telling me I'm cute and all this stuff, and talking to me. He's asking me if I have a boyfriend, and I'm like, yeah. And he's like, does he mind you talking to me? And I was like, I don't know, I haven't told him. And he's just asking me all this stuff, like, oh, I have a girlfriend, and she's doing this and that and that. And I'm like, oh, that sucks. I'm sorry that happened. And he's like, so would you consider being with me? And I'm like, you just contacted me randomly on Facebook. I don't know you. But this is the thing. I did some research after the weird conversation, and I see that the guy that contacted me was a friend of my boyfriend's best friend. So the girl that he slept with, he was a friend of them. So I said, this is weird. Maybe my boyfriend sent him on a hunt to see if I was loyal or something. I don't know, but this is weird. So I told my boyfriend, like, this is some creepy guy, some weird guy messaging me. He's like, oh, just forget about it. But I don't think anymore about it. So I'm thinking that's a test for my boyfriend. Like, I don't know. It's just weird. Anyway, so maybe a few days go by, and it just still bothers me that my boyfriend slept with his best friend, and I'm like, I can't compete with that because I'm a virgin. He hasn't had me. Like, I can't compete. He slept with her. He hasn't slept with me. You know what? I'm gonna have to be a big girl. I want to be a big girl. I want to be grown. I want to, take it to the next level with him, and maybe I can compete with her. That was my thought process. Legit. Like my faith didn't matter at the time. Nothing mattered. I just wanted to compete with her and be a big girl. That's what I said. That's what I told myself. I have to be a big girl. I want to be grown, and I want to give myself to this man because I love him. I'm in love with him, and he was the first guy that I was in love with that actually loved me back. And like this this guy, he was beautiful. He was tall, dark, and handsome, and he liked me even in my weird vegan ways. Like I was so in love with him. Like I don't know if I'm describing it correctly on this video, but I was in love with this man. Like everything in love with him. I forgot to mention a couple events that happened as far as his family goes. He's a family guy, so he'd always take me to his family's house, and I I have one sister and one brother. My brother never lived with me, and my sister was always going to camps and always going to parties and always spending the night at people's houses and always doing all this. So for the most part, I was usually at home by myself or with my mom. Like that was it. So when I go to his house, he has him, his siblings, his cousins, his aunts, his uncles, and like three or four dogs. And I'm like, this is so loud. This is too much. Like, I hated going over there because it was so much out to go from my house with my two dogs and my mama to go to his house full of people. Like, it was just too much for me. So I would hate going over there. But he's a family guy, and he was like, if you're going to be with me, you have to, embrace my family. And I was trying my hardest, but it was just too many. It's like, could you introduce me to one at a time? And it just didn't work out. Like, we would go to family dinners. It would just be like all of them and then me. And they would be talking to each other, having a good old time. They'd ask me like a question, and I would feel so weird. Like, he told them in my presence, like, hey, you're making it feel weird, because they'd always ask me questions about being a massage therapist, because apparently they never met a massage therapist or a black massage therapist. I don't know, but they always ask me questions about that. And then they also asked me asked me questions about me being a vegan, because I'd always go over there, and they'd take me to like places like Outback Steakhouse, and I couldn't eat meat, I couldn't eat dairy. So it was kind of like I would sit there with fries or something like that. And at the time, I also didn't drink pop, so they just thought I was a weirdo. So I didn't get along with them. So let's just let's put that in the background. So I didn't get along with his family, and I was a virgin, so I wasn't putting out or anything. And his girlfriend, his best friend, was good friends with the family. She did the sister's hair. She's best friends with the mom. And she slept with their son. Like, so I was like, I gotta compete somehow. So keep that in mind. About a week or 2 weeks before my 20th birthday, I said, I'm gonna lose my virginity to this man that I'm in love with, and we're gonna get married, and everything's gonna be wonderful, and God's gonna forgive me, and I won't have to compete with his best friend. When I think about it right now, it sounds stupid. Stupid. But I did it. He set a date. He said, so when do you want to do it? And I was like, I don't know. Because I was, I'd been saving myself. And so we pick a date. It's like, where are we gonna do it at? Well, we can do it at your house. And I was like, my mom's might be home, and I don't want her to ruin it, and I want it to be special. And he's like, well, we can get a hotel room. I was like, yeah, I don't want to stay out the whole night, because then my mom will think something's up. And he's like, so what do you want to do it? I'm like, I don't care. So we go to the drive-in. Lord, 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 Lord. All my life, I had planned to lose my virginity on my wedding day to my husband. I was foolish. Anywho, I don't want to make this video more long than it has to be. But let's just say I lost my virginity. I don't want to say it was uneventful, but I'll say I ruined it. I ruined it. So I mentioned that I was a vegan. So I was like, he brought some whipped cream or something like that, and I was like, oh, dairy. I killed it. I killed it. I'm just gonna say that. I don't want to go into detail. It was stupid. I was stupid. If I could redo it, I was stupid. Um, I ruined it. I ruined it. I ruined it. Like we went there excited. We left there like, mm, mm. So I went home knowing that I had been deflowered, and I was hoping that it would have saved stuff. Anyway, so the next month, 2 months, we were like rabbits, all in hopes of competing with his best friend. Um, really like rabbits. So my mom tells me, like, hey, if this guy really likes you the way that he says he likes you, he'll stop coming by late at night. Now, mind you, his work schedule was late at night. He got off work late at night. So I kept asking him like, "Hey, can you come earlier? Can you come earlier?" Because my mom thinks that you don't really like me because you keep coming late, and she says you're disrespecting me and all this stuff. And he's like, "I'm not trying to disrespect you. This is just my time. Like I can see you at school every now and then between classes, but for the most part, I'm busy. And you knew I was busy when we got together." And I'm like, "Yeah, but I feel disrespected and all this stuff." That's where it first started to fall apart. Um, then I was taking advice from my stalker friend because he was like, "Yeah, your boyfriend is still sleeping with his best friend that he says he's not sleeping with because that's what guys do or something like that." I'm like, "No, but he says she's like a sister." And I'm like, "He wouldn't sleep with his sister, but he slept with her." And I'm like, "Okay, but blah blah blah." So that's another issue. I was listening to him, I was listening to my mom. Two big issues. The third issue, he is like, my boyfriend was like, so I know that you didn't want to lose your virginity to just anybody and that you wanted to get married, so we should get married, but not immediately. And I think that we should move in together because you're working right now, I'm working, we can find a place somewhere near his job. And I said, yeah, I don't want to shack up. I know that we're sleeping together, but I don't want to live with you and shack up. It just wouldn't feel right. After all, I am still a Christian. I'm a little feeling guilty because I keep having sex with you and all this stuff. And he's like, we're doing this. Like, I promise you, you'll be okay. Like, nothing's gonna happen to you. I'll take care of you and all this stuff. And I'm like, yeah, no. How about I get an apartment next to yours? And we can just see each other like that. And he's like, that's stupid. Why would you get an apartment right next to mine when we can just live together? We can even have a two-bedroom apartment and just live together like that. I was like, yeah, no, I would probably get my friend as a roommate. Like the creepy guy that I was telling you about, the stalker guy. I said I can get him as a roommate because he's looking for a roommate anyway, and he can be my roommate. And and he's like, you're saying you want to live with another guy, but not live with me? And I'm like, well, see, I wouldn't sleep with him though. He would just be there to help me with the bills, and then I would be right next to you and sleeping with you. And he'd be like, what? So that was stupid on me. Like I like the thought process. The girl was not thinking. Let me tell you, was not thinking. So he started thinking that I was sleeping with my friend. I'm thinking he's sleeping with his friend because he slept with her before, and he's thinking I'm sleeping with my friend. So every now and then, the creepy guy, he's gonna hate if he ever watches this video. He's gonna be so mad I keep calling him creepy guy. But I told him he's creepy. Um, So the creepy guy, he would like before my boyfriend comes, I would say, okay, so what do I tell him about whatever topic I'm thinking about? Because I need a guy's voice. Like I need to know how guys think. So I'm talking to him like, how did I tell him this? How do I tell him that? So we'll be doing that through text. So then when my boyfriend got there, he'd be like, who's texting you? And I'd be like, oh, creepy guy. And he'd be like, so what is it with you and this creepy guy? But he wouldn't say creepy guy. He'd actually say his name, but I'm not gonna say his name on here. And be like, oh, that's nothing. Like he's just a stalker guy that I talk to every now and then. He's like, why do you talk to him? Because I need a guys. I need to know what guys think. And he's like, why don't you just ask me? And I'm like, I don't know. That would be smart if I did, but I don't think you'd give me the right answer, or you would give me an honest answer. So we're arguing. And we're good. We're getting into it. We are arguing and arguing. And my mom comes down every now and then. She'll be upstairs, so she'll come downstairs. And she'll be like, "Is everything okay?" And I'm like, "Yes, we're just talking." And she'll go back upstairs. And then every argument will end up with us having sex. That was it. And he would leave, and we would both be first we would both be apologizing, and then he would leave, and then the next time, the same thing would happen. Like he'd come by, see my phone has messages, and then argument. And then I would be like, but you have so and so on your Facebook, and she's always sending you messages and little jokes and stuff like that. And he's like, but she's my best friend. And I'm like, but you slept with her. She can't just be your best friend. He's like, but she's like my sister. You wouldn't sleep with your sister. That's incest. And he'd be like, it's not even like that. And I'm like, if your penis has been inside her, like, it's not the same. And he's like, "Where are you getting this stuff from?" And I'm like, "All apparently, all guys know like you can't just be friends with somebody that you slept with." And he's like, "But I'm friends with all my ex girlfriends. You gotta keep a friendship with them because you never know when you go back to them." I'm like, "So you're trying to go back to them now?" And so that would be our argument. So let's say not even a month later, um, we're having another argument. Now we don't talk on the phone. It's odd. In person, we talk. We also text. But when we get on the phone, there's nothing there. So like and it was mainly me. I don't know how to talk on the phone. I'm super bad at it. Like I'm bad at talking on the phone. I can talk to anybody in person. I can talk to you on this video, but if I get on the phone, I'm just kind of like I don't have anything to talk about on the phone. So we're on the phone and there's a silence and so he's like, okay, I'll call you back because like we've been arguing and then all of a sudden it gets silent. So I call my friend and I'm like, he's not talking to me. He wants to break up with me. Oh Jesus, I don't want to lose him. This is my love. I want to be with him forever. And the creepy guy's like, you need to calm down. Just tell him how you feel. Tell him what you're thinking. All this stuff. So meanwhile, while I'm on the phone with creepy guy, once again his name starts with a. So my man calls me and I flash over because you push the button and I'm like, hey, and he's like, I'm sorry about the things that I said, blah blah blah, I didn't mean it, we just need to make up. I know you're not that much experienced in relationships and all this stuff. And I'm like, yeah, you're right, blah 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 blah. But I mentioned creepy guy's name and he's like, what? And I say it again because I'm not thinking like I'm calling him the wrong name. He's like, who the is that? And he's like, you know what? I'm done. I'm done. And he hangs up on me. And then as soon as he hangs up, I'm like, oh snap! I called my love, the creepy guy's name. Oh no! Oh no! So I call him back. He's not answering. I text him. He's not responding. So I call creepy guy back, and I'm like, oh my goodness! I called him your name, and now he thinks something's up, and he's gonna leave me, and he hates me, and So at this point, like my heart can't take it. My heart is beating out of my chest, like legit. If you were looking at me, you could see it beating out of my chest, and I can feel it, and like I'm losing breath. Like I feel like I'm having a panic attack. It's just like all bad, and I'm like, it's so bad. It's so bad. Like I feel like it's the worst in the world. Like I don't know what to do with life. And yeah. So a few days go by. Wait. I'll go back. So a couple hours go by, and I'm on Facebook trying to see, like if he's posting anything, and nothing. All of a sudden, I see a destination post or whatever, and it's like so and so is at insert location, and I'm like, this is nowhere near his job. This is nowhere near his house. Where's he going? And then I remember his best friend lives in this location. Why is he there? And why would he put it on Facebook where he knows I'm looking at? And then, like 5 minutes later, there's another message, and him and his best friend are hugged up at a casino in that city. And I'm like, oh, another thing that I forgot to mention. So every now and then, he would go to visit his best friend almost 2 hours away, and she had a dorm room at her college, and their dorm had, I think, 3 bunks or something like that, and one of the bunks was empty. So when he was there, he wouldn't stay at a hotel, he would stay at the bunk. Mind you, he slept with his best friend. I don't know how many times. I know at least once. So I was kind of like, oh no, he's going to sleep with her again. Oh, I lost my man. I told you, I was going through it. My mom was like, what's wrong, Tanya? Tell me what's wrong. You can talk to me. I'm like, no, I can't talk to you. So, no. And when I'm going through a moment like that, I usually turn off my phone. And at that time, I was calling my dad every day. So when he couldn't get in contact with me, he's going into like, what's wrong with my baby mode. So he's calling my mom, he's calling my sister, calling my grandma. He's just calling everybody, trying to figure out what's wrong with me. And my mom's like, you gotta call your dad back. You gotta call your dad back. And I'm like, I can't talk to anybody. I can't talk to anybody. And so he's like, what's wrong with you? Like he finally gets on the phone. He's like, what's wrong with you? And I said, nothing. And he's like, next time you keep your phone on where I can contact with you. And I'm like, okay, fine. But I'm still like breaking down. And yeah, what was it? That Sunday, I go to church. And I think, okay, I'm gonna be cool. I'm gonna be cool, kind of collective. At that time, I used to go to a 7 o'clock service, so I can be out by around 10, and then I can, catch up on my studies, go to work, stuff like that. But this particular Sunday, I was going through it. Like I was like on my way there. Like I messed up my makeup. I smeared it. I looked a hot mess. So I imagine going in there, I looked like beast mode. At this church that I went to, I used to love this church. I was a member of it. I used to love this church. You walk in and people hug you. Legit. They don't just say hi, shake your hand, whatever, like some churches do. They will literally embrace you. So I walked in and they hugged me, and I just held on to the person a little bit longer than I should. I know I freaked him out, but I was like, I need this hug. And then I let go dramatic. Like, I'm like, I let go dramatic. I'm so dramatic. And I rushed to the bathroom. And this woman is like, what's wrong, sweetie? What's wrong? And she follows me to the bathroom. I close myself in the bathroom. I'm like, nothing's wrong. Meanwhile, I'm boohooing like, super loud. And she's like, what's wrong, sweetie? Is someone hurting you? And I'm like, ah! She's like, if someone's hurting you, I can call someone right now and they can help you. And I'm like, no one's beating me. And she's like, are you sure I can call someone right now and we can get you out of the situation? I'm like, no. She's like, just come out. Come on. I need to see your face. Just come out. And I'm like, no. It's a white lady, but mind you. And I'm like, no. She's like, just come out. Come out. You gotta breathe. You gotta breathe. So I come out and she hugs me again. I'm like, ah. I'm getting snot on her. I'm getting snot on myself. Tears are everywhere. And because the security heard me like having a moment, they take me out of the bathroom into like a private room. There's some guy standing in the hallway, and I'm still like having my breakdown. I'm like, ah! I'm screaming at the top of my lungs, crying, and they're like, "You have to tell us what's wrong." And I'm like, "I broke up with my boyfriend." Ah. So the security leaves because they're like, seriously, I thought somebody's beating her. She needs help. Security leaves. The lady's like, it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. This will only last a little while. This will pass, just kind of calm me down. And there's some guys in the hallway. They're like, she's crying over her boyfriend. They don't know I lost my virginity to this man and I was in love. And now I'm thinking he's sleeping with his best friend who he said he wasn't sleeping with. And perhaps maybe he was sleeping with her the whole time. Like, I was going through a lot. Mind you, I told you, I wasn't in a whole lot of relationships because relationships were for marriage. And so I was inexperienced and I lost my virginity. And I was regretting it. So I'm boohooing, crying about life because I assumed that since I lost my virginity, that was it. No one was gonna marry me. I would be lonely. I'd never have kids, and I would be an old cat lady or something like that. Like my whole life flashed before me, and it wasn't pretty. So I was just like, no, no. And I took that to church with me. I tried not to. So after about 30 minutes, the service starts. So I go back to my seat and I'm still bawling. I'm like crying like uncontrollably. People are bringing me boxes of tissue and I got my own little trash can sitting next to me. They're like, "Ma'am, are you okay?" And then some of the other ushers have to inform them like, "Oh, she just broke up with her boyfriend." They're like, "Why is she crying so much?" Like, I can't tell. I lost my virginity. So anyway, bawling, having tissues, whatever, whatever. Um, I will say that I interrupted the service a little bit because I was just being extra. Anyway, so the service ends, and I'm looking at myself in the mirror when I get home. I'm looking at myself in the mirror, and I'm like, how could I? How could I lose my virginity to this man? Like, all my life, I said I would lose my virginity to my husband and to my husband only. Like, I could have been with so many decent people. Like, how could I lose my virginity to him? And he had the nerve to be out with his best friend, who he said he wasn't gonna be with because she was just a friend. Like, how could I be so stupid? How could I do all this? And I said, you know what? I don't need him. And I don't need this hair. And I got the cutting. I got the cutting with the scissors. I got the cutting. I was having a waiting to exhale moment. And when I was done, I looked crazy. Because at that time, I had sister locks. So I looked crazy. But I was like, finally, I got this hair off. I don't need him. I don't need my hair. Bow. I'm better than this. So I come out of the bathroom. My mom was like, "What did you do with your hair?" Mind you, I had sister locks. So sister locks, you pay $600 to install the locks, and then every month you get it retightened for. I think I was paying 120 or 125. So I had my hair in for a few years. I mean, my hair was locked for a few years, so that's a lot of money. So mom was like, "Oh, what did you do with your hair?" And her boyfriend was there at the time. I didn't like him, but she was like, "Come show so and so." I don't want to say his name. And I said, "I'm here. Do you see me?" And he's like, "I see her." And because he doesn't pay attention to nothing, she's like, "Do you see her hair?" And he's like, "I see her hair." And she's like, "She cut it." He's like, "Okay," because he didn't care. I don't know why she wanted me to see. And she's like, "Why'd you cut your hair?" And I said, "Because it's mine." And I ran upstairs. So that was me being dramatic. Anyway, a couple of days later, I get a professional haircut, and I put on a little makeup, not a whole much makeup, just a little something, something. At that time, I didn't do a whole lot of makeup, so I just did a yellow and green look. It wasn't cute, but it's something I was trying out. I said I still wanted to look feminine, but I just had to prove that I could be woman or a woman and strong without hair. Like, the man broke my heart. My heart. I told you, I felt like I was having an asthma attack. I felt like I couldn't breathe. Like I was hyperventilating because of this man. Like, I couldn't believe I let myself get to that point. So I felt like, okay, cutting my hair, I'm doing something. I'm regaining my strength. So I put on a little makeup and I post a new Facebook profile, and I put under the status, "I don't need no man, I don't need no hair," or something like that. It was super sassy, and and literally, I wouldn't even maybe within an hour, I hear somebody knocking on my door, and I don't look outside because I'm not smart. But I don't like. I'm thinking it's my mom's boyfriend, so I open the door and I'm like, "Hey!" And I see my ex boyfriend, and he's at my door and he's like, "Can I come in?" And I said, "I don't know, can you?" And he's like, "You can I come in?" And I'm like, "Ma, can so and so come in?" And I'm thinking she's gonna say no. And she says loud as heck, "Yes, let him in." I'm like, "Oh man." So I let him in and he's like, "Wow." And he starts touching my head. He's like, "Wow." He's like, "Why'd you do this?" Because I didn't need it. Oh, he's like, "I can't believe you did this." I'm like, "I didn't need it." Mind you, that same week before I cut my hair, that literally the same week, I went into a pet store because I had a science extra credit um, thing at my school. So the science teacher was like, so if you go and if you he was making a joke. He said, if you hold a tarantula, I'll give you like 100 points extra credit on your final exam or something like that. And everybody's like, we're not gonna hold a tarantula. We're not trying to die over this. But because I had just gotten out, and I had just gotten out of my relationship, I was like, I feel like I'm dying anyway. Why not get an extra credit for doing this? So I went to the pet store. I held me a tarantula. I held a tarantula in my hand, and I was like, mm. And I said, you know what? I'm gonna do one better. I had it on my shoulder, and I was doing like this. I was walking with him on my hand. I said, I'm not scared of this tarantula. My man broke my heart. I'm not scared of nothing. And if I can find the video, I'll post it. Um, but I was like, I'm not scared of this tarantula. My man broke my heart. So he is like, wow. So first you do the tarantula thing. Now you're cutting your hair, and I'm like, yep. I'm fearless. I don't need nothing to stop me from doing whatever. I was being super sassy, super feminist at the time, even though I'm not a feminist at all. But yeah. So yeah, he's like, okay, I just need to see for myself. So he leaves. Then he texts me and he's like, maybe we can make this work. And so we go out. He takes me out. First off, it's super quiet in the car. Like I told you, when we're on the phone, it's super quiet, but when we're in person, we talk a lot. It was dead silence in the car. Um, yeah, I can't remember what he was trying to do. I think he was trying to hold my hand or something, and I just couldn't. I was so mad that he went to where his friend was, and he didn't even tell me if he slept with her or not. It's just like he didn't even mention it, and it bothered me. So he tried to reach my hand or something. I didn't want to touch him. I was just like, no, I'm sorry, I can't. And he's like, but we're trying to make it work or something like that. And I was like, nah. So yeah, it just didn't feel the same. It didn't feel the same, and it hurt my heart. It hurt my heart that I wanted it to work. I wanted us to try to make it work, even with my bald head and all. But it's just like I just 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 I just couldn't. And then I don't want to say the unthinkable happened because it was very predictable. The next month, his status is married to insert girl's name. And of course, I know they're not married, but the fact that they put that, and then she had the nerve to tag him in a bunch of pictures of him and her holding hands, hugged up, kissing. And I honestly couldn't be mad. You may say, well, Simon, well, why couldn't you be mad? After all, he took your virginity and he hooked up with the girl that he said he wouldn't hook up with, even though he slept with her before he met you. I couldn't be mad because literally the month before we got together, he was in a relationship with somebody else. Like this is his MO. He's a serial uh relationship hopper, I guess. So he hops out of one relationship into another. Like I couldn't be mad that he didn't stay single. And guess what? To this day, they're still dating. To this day, it's been years. I'll be 20, I'll be 29. I'll be 29 in July. They've been together 9 years. 9 years. 9 years. After telling me that there was nothing between them, even though they slept together. Um, 9 years. So that's how I lost the love of my life. But I'm real like I'm not smart in relationships. I'm really not. I am a fool in relationships. I am the dumbest of the dumb in relationships. Like honestly, but that's for another story time. Thank you guys for listening, and I will see you in another video.